Hello friends and fellow gamers, MKxJUMP here, and this week we have a brand new event for Idle Heroes, releasing the new hero Alikita, who is a dark mage. Now we will be looking at her and her skills at the end of the video, but what matters more is how you should approach this week's event, and whether it's worth you using any resources, given Anniversary is only 1 month away. And for those of you that don't know, the Anniversary is one of the biggest events of the Idle Heroes calendar, and can often result in many great rewards, whether you're free to play or a spender. So does this week's Heroic Summons event take the cheese, or should we be waiting for the next month to come? Well, that's what we're going to be talking about today, so make sure you stay tuned for all of that. Before we do though, today's video is sponsored by Angel Legion. Angel Legion is a sci-fi idle RPG similar to Idle Heroes but set in space. You put together a team of angels combining their abilities into epic combos to explore the galaxy, defeat powerful foes, and when all that fighting is over, you can hang out with your heroes in the cabin to relax and unwind. The heroes in this game are fully customizable, and you can dress and change the way they look to your heart's content, and there's lots of different heroes in the game for you to experiment with to find which team you like the most for making progress. For this week only, people on the Google Play servers can get themselves exclusive rewards that allow you to customize your heroes how you wish, and on top of that, you can get 10 free summons. Head into your account settings and click on the code redemption button, and you can enter the code LBNG5555. You will be rewarded with 10 free summons and an exclusive fashion item previously only available to PC users. You can head to your character customization, redeem the item, and equip it to whichever hero you like. So be sure to check out Angel Legion. It's completely free to download on all app providers, and if you're on Google Play, why not consider getting that code onto your account as well. There's also some additional codes you can find in the description as well to get yourself even more rewards, so make sure to catch them in. Anyway, let's go ahead and check out this week's event for Ridal Heroes. This week, we'll be getting ourselves 3 Heroic Summon Scrolls and 150 gems each day for logging in, so make sure you log in and get those gems and scrolls, as they will help you to make progress this week. Now, the event is split into 2 halves. First of all, we have what you can find in the cool event. So it starts off with the Palace of Eternity, which lets you turn any of these 5 heroes here into a copy of the brand new Dark Hero. So if you have any of these heroes and you want to get a copy of the Dark Hero now, you can do. It requires 10 Eternal Crystals to make that switch. To get Eternal Crystals, you can get them from the Palace of Crystal. You get 5 for every 400 heroic summons that you choose to use, but if you go to the value packages and buy this package here, you will unlock a Palace Key. Each Palace Key will unlock a lower reward down here, giving you an additional 15 for each 400. Now, we also have the Childhood Dreams. This carries on over from last week, so make sure you go ahead and cash in your coloured rocking horses to make sure you get the best rewards you can. In my opinion, I think the Treasure Selection Chest is the best thing you can grab, especially if you're a free-to-play player, because the stack gain from here is fantastic. Now, this week's value packages, we already mentioned, give you the Palace Key, but on top of that, you've got gems, scrolls, and treasure train coupons. But you will notice there are no special currencies attached to this week's packages, so you probably don't want to be buying these if you want to max the event. It also means you can't use contract storage gems as part of this week's event either, which will be a huge letdown, as you will see later on. We also have the Hero Lottery, so every copy of the new hero you manage to get will get you 4-star armor, and you have the Summon Prizes, which will be giving you copies of these heroes if you get to 400 points, and a point is gained by using your Heroic Summon Scrolls. On top of that, you will get your usual Prophet Orbs and Heroic Summon Scrolls for doing all of this, with an Asmodel as well for 200 points, and your usual Core of Transcendence and 5 Soul Symbols for 300 points. On top of that, for every 500 you use, you will accumulate 20 pure fragments, and these pure fragments are used as part of the larger rewards for this week's event, which we will be breaking down in a second to see whether it's worth it for you to go after this event. And finally, as part of the cool events, we have the Hero Exchange, which allows you to go ahead and get a copy of Patricia and a copy of Yom Tum for 5,500 Altar Stones. So if you have those lying around and you want to get a copy of these heroes, you absolutely can do. Now, if we enter into the Quantum era, this is where we see the main part of this week's event. And first of all, we have the Sea of Data. Now, this may seem extremely overwhelming to people, but the way it works is basically there are lots of different floors. Each one will contain a different amount of contaminated areas. Now, the minor contamination, there's 6 of them on a floor, along with 1 moderate contamination. Then the next floor will have 8 minor contaminations with 2 moderate contaminations. And then finally, when you get to the 3rd floor here, you will see that there is a heck of a lot of contamination, because we have both minor, moderate, and finally severe contamination on there too. Now, a single block can be cleared using one of this week's currencies, these pure fragments. However, there's a 15% chance to get a critical strike, which will take down an additional block. And if you manage to clear one of these big segments of 16 blocks, you will get yourself a bonus reward. For the first clear, you will get yourself a mysterious artifact selection chest or a glorious flag, and on top of that, you will get an orange treasure chest. The second time you manage to do that, you will get yourself a core of origin shard with another orange chest in there too. That would be the best reward to grab from here. If you get to the third level, you can either go with a sublimation chest or one of the new artifact chests. My advice would be to go for the sublimation chest. For the fourth area, you can go for one of these origin artifact chests as well. I don't think anything else really jumps out like that, although if you do need an auspicious lucky cat, that is available in this artifact chest here. If you carry on ahead and clear your 5th severe contamination area, you will get yourself a chance to grab an artifact, or you can go with the sublimation, one of the new chests, or even you can get yourself a core of origin selection chest. If you get to the 6th one, it's the same thing again. And finally, for the 7th and 8th clears, you will get yourself double bonuses here, and you will gain Scattered Spirit Vein shards, Core of Origin shards, or you can go with Divine Power Aurora gems. My advice would be to focus the Destiny stuff for most people, as anyone that really does want to jump this deep is probably doing so to chase the Destiny resources, which are available again on the 8th one as well. Now, the way you gain these pure fragments is a little bit annoying. You either get them from using heroic summon scrolls, and we already established you can get 20 of them for a full pass of 500. So that means if you're using 2,000 scrolls, which is the maximum, the highest you can get without spending any money is 80. However, the only other places you can get them are from the Mysterious Vortex, which we will look at in a second, or from the Relay, and then of course you can get them for spending money. And that's a little annoying because you get one for every $3 you choose to spend up to 250 times. So to maximize the number of pure fragments you can get, you will have to spend 750 bucks. Now granted, because there's that 15% chance that you critically strike, you probably won't need to spend 750 bucks, but you still will probably end up spending around 600 to 700 bucks anyway by doing this event. Now that might sound like a lot compared to previous events, and it is, because previously in events similar to this one that have the same reward structures, we've been able to get event resources by using contract story gems, and buying things with contract story gems is considerably more affordable than buying them with money. Mainly because you can go to the auction house and buy copies for cheap with story gems and break them down for a higher amount of contract story gems. Also, there are ways, such as through friends or other people in the community, to get your hands on story gems for much cheaper than the game sells them for, making it even easier to get access to those rewards. However, because the developers have chosen to not add that as a structure and instead make it based on how much you spend directly in the game, it has made the value of this week's event considerably worse, because you need to spend a heck of a lot of money to get similar rewards to events we've seen in the past, which require a lot less. Also, you have to spend 2,000 heroic summon scrolls to max this event, and that is also very unpleasant considering Anniversary is a month away. And Anniversary is also going to need our heroic summon scrolls and will almost definitely give considerably better rewards and give us much more access to rewards like sublimation chests. Because if you look at the bonus rewards here, there's only one opportunity to get a sublimation chest in the first 3 reward tiers. As well, just to get to the first severe contamination area, you are going to have to clear a lot of other contamination. For this first floor, you will already need to do 100 damage, and that requires 10 of this week's currency. For the second floor, you'll need another 160 damage, so that's a further 16, so already you need 26 of the currency just to get to the third floor. And clearing the third floor is going to cost you 220 before you've even touched the severe contamination, which is going to require another 160 on top of that. So in total, just to clear the first 3 floors and get yourself access to an artifact, you're going to need 64 of this week's currency, assuming you don't crit. And that's extremely expensive, considering you can't even get 60 of them by spending 1,500 heroic summon scrolls. If you turned around to me and said, MK, do you think 1,500 heroic summon scrolls is worth a single artifact? I would laugh you out the room and say absolutely not. So this event is just ludicrously bad value if you're a free-to-play player, and my advice would be save your scrolls for Anniversary, do not bother. However, there is an additional part of this week's event which allows you to spend 500 gems up to 50 times, so that's 25,000 gems in total, to get yourself some pretty nice rewards. However, Anniversary will also require us to be using gems, and we've had events similar to this literally within the last month, so a lot of you free-to-play players are probably feeling really tapped on your gems. My advice would not be to chase this, because in my opinion, this 35 pure fragment here is going to be very, very unuseful to you, because unless you use scrolls, you're not actually getting any rewards this week. And even if you do choose to use scrolls, free-to-play players have to spend almost 2,000 scrolls just to get to this second reward tier, which is absolutely horrendously bad value. So do not do this, in my opinion. There's even a chance that you low roll and don't get this at all. So just save your scrolls, save your gems. Do not bother chasing this week's event. This also might seem tempting to use contract story gems on, but I cannot stress any harder how much of a waste that would be. If you want to be throwing your gems at this, sure, go ahead, but you don't have to. I'd rather save them for future events, and definitely do not use your contract story gems on this because there are much better things to use your contract story gems on. Now, one other thing that's worth mentioning about this week's event is how bottom heavy it is. You'll see as we scroll down, severe contamination really increases once you get to the 15th and 18th floors. And that's when the value does start to return to you, because you have to spend a lot of money here. And it means that anything before that is really poor value. And considering you're going to have to spend hundreds of bucks to even get to the 15th floor, I do not think spending money on this week's event is worth it, because you're basically spending twice as much money as you normally would for the same amount of rewards as you would in previous events, and you're just blowing out scrolls, which are essential resources for making progress at Anniversary. So I definitely wouldn't go after this event, even if you were a heavy spender. I think the only people that will be doing this are going to be whales, who will absolutely grab any opportunity they can to get themselves Destiny materials, because they want to get as many heroes to Nirvana as possible, and the bottleneck for them is just the sheer amount of Destiny materials they can acquire, and as long as they're given in events, people will spend and spend and spend to get them. But as long as you're not that addicted to getting Destiny stuff, you really shouldn't be chasing this week's event. What we do have, though, is a mini game that you guys can engage with, and that will allow you to get yourself gems. However, it is a little bit stressful. It is a clicker game which requires you to click on the red infected areas when they show up, like so. Although this is definitely going to be something for those of you that are masters of first-person shooters that are very used to moving your mice around quickly, or maybe it's going to be easy to do this on a tablet or phone where you can just tap the screen whenever those red areas come up. There's only one downside about this, which is that it's a minute long, so you're sat there, and when you finally do clear a bunch of them, lots more of these red areas will appear on the screen, and I am stressing my mind out trying to speak to you at the same time as clicking this, and yeah, I just made an absolute mess of that. And I nearly clicked the green area, and I did, and I just lost my combo streak. It's quite stressful and a little bit tricky, but if you get your head around it, you will get yourself some free gems for scoring lots of points. Depending on how many points you get, you'll get yourself some additional gems, and you can use these gems to help you make progress, or in my opinion, I just save them for Anniversary. Now, on top of this week's rewards, we have the Loop Protocol, which is giving you scrolls back for spending scrolls. And that might seem tempting, you get 10 scrolls back for using 100, but personally, I wouldn't be using your scrolls this week because Anniversary is so close. And really, the value just isn't that fantastic. And you can look across at these bonus rewards, and that is giving you Cores of Transcendence, Stellar Shards, and Crystals of Transcendence, and that definitely might seem tempting, especially when you consider that it's giving you copies of the new hero as well. However, to unlock this, you do need to buy the top package of this relay, and this relay is almost $100 in total. So if you want to go ahead and spend $100, then blow all of your scrolls on this week's event, I mean, sure, that's absolutely an option, but you are going to have to go ahead and spend even more money to make that worth it, because really you're then chasing the event and trying to max it. The value doesn't seem great. I think there's better things you can spend $100 on, and the fact it's forcing you to use 2,000 scrolls to get any value out of this, I think it's not worth it, considering Anniversary is so close, like I've said so many times in this video, because Anniversary is going to give significantly stronger rewards for your scrolls. So if you're blowing money and scrolls on this, and you're going to put yourself in a position in a month's time where you won't be able to do next month's event, then that's really going to hurt your progress. So my advice to you guys is, even though these events and rewards might seem good, they're not as good as what we can get in the future, and it is just bait to get you spending and wasting your resources so that when Anniversary comes along, you have to spend a lot more to get similar rewards, or you have to buy worse things for similar rewards. Either way, that doesn't sound good to me. If you were planning on spending this week, though, we do have the Power Source gift, which is giving you additional bonuses depending on how much you spend, and these rewards are relative to $50 increments. The first reward is going to get you an orange chest, the next one is getting you an artifact, which does contain Auspicious Lucky Cat in this chest, or you can have one of the new Origin artifact selection chests in here too. For $150 spent, you get another orange chest. For $200, you can get yourself a Sublimation chest or a Core of Origin, Origin. For 250 bucks, you'll get a pink chest, and on top of that, for 300 bucks, you'll get yourself some more Destiny materials. This is just icing on the spender's cake and really isn't amazing on its own, and I think it's just additional rewards for those of you that were tempted to spend. But again, considering that you're going to need to spend somewhere towards 600 to 700 bucks to max this week's event, considering we've had events in the past that only need us to spend 300 or 400 for the same level of rewards, or even in many cases better rewards, I personally don't think it's going to be worth spending. There is one saving grace about this relay though, and that's that it does give Prism Story gems and some pure fragments. So if you were wanting to spend a tiny bit on this relay just to push a little bit more of these fragments onto your account, and you did maybe have some spare scrolls lying around, I guess you could push this event just a little bit if you were hoping to get maybe your first stage of rewards here and just get yourself a Core of Origin shard. Outside of that, I think most people are just best saving your resources for an event in the future. And you might be like me. You might be sitting on a pile of over 3,000 scrolls, and you might think, well, MK, I think I'm going to have enough scrolls for Anniversary too. But do remember, after Anniversary, we have the Shishi Festival, then we have Halloween, then we have Black Friday, and then we have Christmas. That's 4 massive Heroic Summon Scroll events that are coming up close for the remainder of this year, and within that small time period, it's unlikely you're going to have enough scrolls to do all of those events. So if you're coming into Anniversary with a surplus of scrolls, that's often a good thing because it sets you up for events that will come afterwards as well. So don't just immediately see that as an A-OK, I can go after this event, because in my personal opinion, there are much better events coming in the future, and this event, as I've said before, in my opinion, is bait. With all that said, let's take a look at next week's event. We have the Fantasy Factory Prophet Orbs giving Betty as a reward, and Heroic Miracle giving Gaggy. A little bit of a disappointing top reward here, and I'm imagining they're going to add to that like a spring melody or just something to make this more attractive, but as it stands, this event looks like a little bit of a disappointment, so hit that subscribe button to see if the devs decide to transform this into something really, really good. I hope they do, because really right now, it doesn't look that great. And finally, let's go take a look at the new hero. She's called Alikita, and she's got some interesting abilities. First of all, she gains bonuses to attack, HP, speed, and control immunity, and is one of the fastest heroes in the game, coming in at a whopping 1,238 speed, which makes her tied for being fastest, next to Forkis, Eos, Homejung, and other mages like that. When it comes to her basic attack, that will allow you to deal damage to one random enemy with a chance to randomly remove 2 attribute buffs from them, and as well, it has a chance to extend the remaining rounds on damage over time, attribute reductions, and control effects to the target by 1 round. So it's kind of like what Delasium is doing, but to a single opponent. She does also have a cool ability called Overrun Computing, which means at the end of a round, she's going to give bonuses to your team, increasing potentially their attack, maybe their damage reduction, their speed, their energy, maybe their armor, maybe their crit, and maybe their crit damage. This is an inconsistent buff, but sometimes could be quite cool, but on the grand scheme, you're not really going to be using her, and I don't think this is an ability that's going to make a huge difference to your account. But her active skill is pretty cool. It deals 2 stages of damage, 800% then 400%, and also for every 1 type of buff owned by the opponent, she will deal additional damage, very similar to Delasium. Also, she has the ability to do the opposite of the bonus effect she had here with the data augmentation. She will do that, but negatively to 3 random opponents, which is pretty cool. She's going to reduce their attack, reduce their damage reduction, reduce their speed, energy, armor, crit, and crit damage. However, it's only one of those following effects. So it's random, so it's inconsistent. That could be good, it could be bad. It really depends on what happens, and that inconsistency is going to make her questionable. But in game modes where you can try multiple times, then I suppose she could be good, but really, she's not a strong hero. She's a dark hero, so most of the endgame stuff is not going to be stuff she can engage with, and even in Seal Land, she's probably just going to die, and I would much rather have a hero like Carrie who can dodge and offer some much more consistent energy steal. So personally, I don't think she's going to have a place in the meta as a hero, but that shouldn't come as a surprise considering Transcendence heroes are the dominating heroes pretty much forever and always now in Idle Heroes, but there is a chance that her Transcendence form is going to be super duper strong because I do believe that that's a really good foundation basis to build a hero who can offer a lot of bonuses and disruption for your team. So I think what we're going to have at Anniversary when they do finally transcend her, I think we'll be getting ourselves a support mage who can offer a lot of bonuses to our team. But that's going to be in a month's time, so make sure you subscribe, and Anniversary is going to bring with it a ton of massive rewards for free-to-play players and for spenders as well. So make sure you save your scrolls, save your gems, and don't be distracted by the potential rewards in this week's event. I promise you there are much better events to spend your money on that will get you far better things, and actually this event isn't even giving that much for the treasure train compared to other events in the past we've had, especially just within the last few months. You can go back and watch my event review videos. You will see there are plenty better things to spend your money on in this game. So if you're new to the game and you are wanting to spend, maybe this week isn't the week to be focusing your money. Anyway, guys, I'll see you next time. Don't forget to try out Angel Legion. It's completely free to download, available on any App Store provider that you have, and you might find that it's the next idle RPG you wanted to try out for yourself. There's also codes in the description if you wanted to get some bonus rewards, and hopefully you don't miss out on those as they will only be available for a limited time. I'll see you next time, guys. Thank you for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe, and of course, have a fantastic week, and happy idling.